If I wanted to restore my marriage in 2026, I would do this. I've worked with countless high-performing men who crushed it in their careers but still felt powerless in their own homes. And here's the hard truth. Your marriage will not survive 2026 unless you learn to lead it differently. And in this video, I'm gonna give you the full blueprint to restore your marriage step by step without selling out your masculinity or waiting on her to fix herself. But if you miss this, you risk repeating the same patterns that got you here until the whole thing falls apart. Let's get into the first step. Step one is this. You gotta get radically honest about where you're at. Most men want a quick fix, but if you don't first face where you really are, every solution will be built on denial. And denial is a silent killer of marriages. You've likely convinced yourself the real problem is her, right? It's her emotions, that she's ungrateful, that she doesn't appreciate you. It's her nagging, it's her inconsistencies. But real leadership begins when you own your contribution to the breakdown without acting like a victim. Because why? You can't be in a dysfunctional marriage without being dysfunctional. So until there's clarity between you and her, you're stuck in a loop. Clarity will always overcome denial. And with it, your relationship becomes 10 times stronger because now it's built on a foundation of truth and not assumptions. So if you want clarity in your marriage, it starts by looking in the mirror. Acknowledge your role without shame. Remove your ego. Call out your own avoidance patterns. Identify your fears, your emotional triggers, and how you've shut down emotionally. Stop treating her feelings like a burden or a nuisance, and stop calling it emotional baggage or drama. Once you know where you really stand, well, now it's time to identify what's breaking the bond every day without you even noticing. This brings us to step 2. Identify the patterns killing the connection. If you're just going through the marriage without noticing the emotional landmines you've been stepping on daily, when they finally go off, well, you're gonna point the blame at her. But the reality is this. Maybe every time you walk through the door, she looks frustrated and distant, and you immediately assume she's being dramatic. See, this is an example of a pattern slowly killing your connection. And until you start recognizing them, brother, you'll keep reacting the same way. And you're gonna wonder why nothing ever changes. So how do you start spotting the patterns that are silently breaking the connection? Well, it starts by paying close attention to things like this. Recognizing the pattern dismissing her feelings as overreactions. Recognizing how avoiding vulnerability shuts her out. Recognizing how you always have to be right and you can't validate her, which makes her feel unseen and unheard. And people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Right? Dissect your communication loops. She blames, you get defensive, you blame back, she withdraws, and you resent having to lead again. And one of the worst things is you expect her to take accountability like a man. Let's be honest. Have you ever met a woman who takes accountability like a man? And one of the biggest struggles I see in the men I work with is that they've never truly learned how to lead in their relationships. They confuse dominance with influence. And as a man, if you don't know how to lead with strength and clarity, you're gonna keep repeating the same emotional cycles over and over. But once you do step into that role and start recognizing these patterns for what they are, well, that's when real transformation begins for you. And you could take Shane, for example. After joining the private community, he was able to lead with confidence and break lifelong patterns. He didn't just save the relationship. He became a stronger, more grounded leader in every area of his life. And he's not the only one. Inside the Total Breakthrough Academy brotherhood and the community, there's countless men who are rebuilding their lives and marriages with stability without ever needing therapy. I mean, look, nobody is more capable of solving your marital issues than you. Why? Because nobody cares about your marriage as much as you do. And nobody knows your wife better than you do. So brother, if you're looking for real one-on-one support and a structured, guided, proven pathway, something that can help you lead your marriage with strength, click the link in the description to apply. Now let's get back to the next step. Step 3 is this. Change the behaviors that create emotional distance. Because without any real change in your behavior, you'll keep running into the same problems no matter how much insight or awareness you chase. You might read a book on communication, have a breakthrough in therapy, or even send her a long, heartfelt text. But please don't use ChatGPT. But every time she gets emotional or says something that feels like criticism, you still shut down. And see, you can't outsmart or outtalk your way back into the connection. You need behavioral evidence, and so does she. You need to become a phenomenal communicator, not just reactive, but proactive. You need to remove your vices. You need to speak life over her. Stop allowing negativity to make you a worse version of who you are. That's not strength. It's actually the epitome of weakness. And if you can bring out the worst in one another, what makes you think you can't bring out the best in her? So change the emotional climate of the home. After a conflict, don't check out, circle back, revisit it, and repair it. Don't leave tension hanging. As men, we don't hold list and stay resentful. It's not healthy. Be predictably honest, not selectively honest. Own your tone, revisit misunderstandings, face the fire instead of avoiding it. Now, let's get into one step most guys are missing entirely, or they just won't admit that they won't do it. Step 4 is this: lead with strength and humility. Most high-level men lead with strength, but very few lead with humility. That's exactly why this dynamic in their marriage doesn't work, because they think humility is weakness. But in 2026, that combination of strength and humility isn't optional. Humility opens doors that brute strength never will. And if you only lead with strength, here's what usually happens. You avoid owning your mistakes because you think it makes you look weak. You overpower situations instead of resolving them, so nothing ever gets healed. And you confuse fear-based compliance with love, and it slowly creates distance. See, you can validate your wife without agreeing with her. Hey, you know what, honey? I can see how you would feel that way. And not have to insert your agenda, logic, or solution. Listening is actually a way to solve a problem. Real leadership isn't about domination. It's about being grounded enough to take ownership without losing your edge. Confident enough to own your mistakes. And when you can't, well, you train your wife pretty well. So don't be surprised when she can't own hers. So admit when you're wrong without collapsing into shame or guilt. Validate her emotions while staying rooted in your own, and respond with calm, not control. Slide in with your Elvis voice. The tonality, your prosody, the cadence, the volume of your voice, all are critical and important. Apologize without ego, without justifying, arguing, defending, or explaining. Own your reactions. Lead emotionally, not just financially. But see, all this means nothing if you don't sustain it. And that's why you need to anchor it into your weekly rhythm. Step 5 is this: you need to build a long-term plan that fits 2026 realities. Marriage isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment that needs consistent attention. Most couples don't fall apart overnight. They drift because they stop being intentional. Yeah, your marriage is a growing, living, changing organism. So if you want a marriage that actually lasts, it starts with building a shared vision. And that means sitting down regularly and planning on purpose. You establish KPIs, milestones, and metrics in your business, but yet you don't do this in your marriage. So your reward system is not actually wired around results and goals. You plateau, you're bored, and you just stagnate. So set weekly emotional check-ins. Prioritize growth personally and relationally. Schedule Friday morning 30-minute alignment talks to stay emotionally synced with one another. So review these 5 steps, and you now have a blueprint to restore your marriage in 2026. But if you stop here and don't apply it, well, you're gonna fall right back into the same loop that's got you here. So make sure to check out the community linked in the description to get one-on-one support and actually start seeing progress in your marriage if you're struggling. We've helped over 5,000 men go from feeling directionless and misunderstood to finally taking control and becoming stronger leaders in their relationships and lives. All right, see you next time. Thanks for watching.